We've got some
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah.
Hello and welcome back to Bonfire Entrepreneurs with your host Kajal Khurana KK. Our special guests tonight are amazing entrepreneurs. They are two brothers. They are open book. They love to talk about everything. They are passionate about content and how can that be turned into profit for businesses. They are the founders of BIZBROS. They are Luis brothers, but on our show today, we have only one of the brothers. So welcome to our show, Luis Kemijo.
Yes. Hey, Kajal, what's up? Nice to meet you. Well, meet you, right? We had an awesome conversation a couple of days ago, and thank you for having me on the show.
I'm totally delighted to have you. So first tell our listeners, where's the other brother? Why only one brother is here?
So my brother, which many know as FONZI, he slept in today. I know it's like 9 p.m. on your time. It's like 9 a.m. on here. We normally get to the office a little bit later because we stay later at night. We record our shows live around 7 p.m. Okay. So he's like, yeah, I'll be there. And then I'm on the way here. I'm like, what happened? I'm like, oh man, like it's been raining. I totally like slept in. I'm like, don't worry about it. Let me cover for you.
Cool,
I will do
nice,
these things. But yes,
nice.
that's
so just
why.
for our listeners, I'm in Singapore and Luis brothers are based in US. So yeah. So welcome to our show once again. And please tell our listeners, why do you both have the same first name? Both the brothers are called Luis. Can you imagine?
Yes, it's like copy paste. It's funny. So we're both from Venezuela, right? And over there, it's very common for brothers to have the same first name. So my full name is actually Luis Daniel. That's why people see on the screen LUISDA, right? And then my brother is actually Luis Alfonso. So now we call him Fonzi. But it's funny, every time we go to a conference, we're like, hey, nice to meet you, I'm Luis. And then my brother comes and hey, nice to meet you, I'm Luis. And they're like, what? Same name? And the name tags normally is the same thing. It's like Luis Camejo for both. And we're like, we promise you that we actually paid twice for this conference. We have 2 tickets. So yeah, it's turned out a little bit of a joke, and now we say it's just a marketing trick from our family, you know.
Right, amazing. Yeah, first time I met them, I was like, "Are you guys cousin?" Because sometimes cousins do have same name, and then he's like, "No, we are real brothers." I was like, "Wow, I never heard or had anybody, like who have same first name." See, a lot of people have, I think in some cultures, especially I think in Greece, they give the grandson the same name as their grandfather, right? So technically your father and your son has the same name. So that has been known to me, but this definitely not.
That's the second part of the story. My dad had a first marriage, and everybody on that side of the family, it's Mario. Like his name is Mario. So his older son is Mario. Like my sister's Marionette. And then my mom is like, enough with the Marios. We're actually going to start the Luis trend.
Oh, good. Amazing. I'm so happy that you took out time to be here with us. So Luis, tell our listeners about your journey.
Yes, definitely. So as you mentioned earlier, we're very passionate about content, and we truly believe that content is the reason you can create a ton of profit for you and your business. So we started about 5 years ago, the company BIZBROS itself, out of a place of like need and wanting to do something different. We obviously grew up in Venezuela in a very awesome home, and but the country went in a different direction with these politics, right? To the point that we had to migrate. We had to look for new opportunities, and that's why we came to the US. We both played soccer, and in our minds, we always wanted to do something else, right? We never thought about going the typical route, a corporate job. We felt like trapped in an office. So we're like, hey, what can we do? So as soon as I graduated from college, I'm like, what can we do? And we started taking that conversation a little bit more serious, to the point that I actually took like a super part-time job even after graduating college here in the States, just so I could have the time to dedicate to this. So we read a book called The One Thing, and we're like, what's the one thing that we can actually, be good at and do that? And at that time, 5 years ago, social media was still like fairly fresh, right?
Right.
And we're like, yeah, we started to grow, and me and my brother were like, whoa, we can do this for a business. And I remember investing about $500 in this course about how to start a social media marketing agency. And that was at the time the biggest investment that we've ever done. We put it on a credit card, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, is this thing actually gonna work?" And it did. We actually like started executing right off the bat. So I don't think I've ever finished that course, but like the first like 3 modules were enough for me to give me that information, so I could go out to the world and start like providing this service. So we started doing it, and we started working with restaurants, specifically Mexican restaurants. I have no idea why. My wife loves tacos, so I think like subconsciously, like we went there, right? And I remember having these conversations, and we started like convincing, right? And now we talk about something called the frictionless sale. But at the time we had no concept around that. And so we convinced this guy that he needed social media, that he needed to be present. And it was a very rocky like experience. It was every time that we were executing something, he was like second guessing, and it was like really, really challenging. So we started to think about how can we actually get that person that loves to work with us. And through that journey, we started learning different things, different ways that we could help different businesses. We were always around coaching, so we love helping people, either on sports with soccer, that's what we knew at the time,
Right.
and now with this whole like content game, right? So fast forward a couple of years, we ended up in Miami, Florida, in this massive conference. It was a 35,000 people conference in a stadium, and we listened to Russell Branson and Ryan Dice, 2 great marketers out there, live. And it was for me the first time that I actually saw them live. And my brother had been following them for quite a while now on the learning journey. And I remember listening to them. It's like, hey, marketing is the start of your sale. And at that point, I was working in the fitness industry. And we were having so many issues hiring advertising agencies, right? Because the agency will come in and they will give you a ton of leads, right? They will invest with you, and they'll pay, you'll pay them, and they'll return those leads. Now the studios, the fitness locations, were like, guys, those leads are not quality leads. They're not closing. They're not customers. Right? So there was a massive disconnect. And these guys saying like, hey, the marketing is just the start of the sales process. And most people see it as 2 different things. So I'm like, oh my God, that is exactly the problem that we're having with our 9 studios that we're running, right? And so we came back and we're like, how can we provide a solution for that? How can we, create, there's so many businesses having this problem. We're here to serve, like we know we can help them. So we established something called the omni-channel process, right? Which is just one single process that connects your marketing with your sale. That involves funnels and sales funnels. So we started to help brick and mortars, not just with their content, but with creating this whole process where their content helps them make sales, right? So that started to move the gears in the right direction. And that was a super fun process where we'll come into different businesses and we'll help them and create different products or grab stuff like that they already had and start selling it online together with their content. So we made the connection between that content and that profit, right? What was interesting though is that we still were working with the right customer, and it was frustrating at sometimes because we were developing all these programs. I remember one time this doctor, he was a dentist, right? And we created this whole system. He loves content. He loves create. Like he loves to be in front of a camera, which is really hard to find in businesses like this. And then on the back end, we set up something called the virtual consult. So people will send them videos of their teeth, and then he will come back and return like a video with his opinion, right? And that was super successful. And to the point that he's like, guys, I just need to turn it off. And even after turned off, the thing kept working. So we're like, oh my God, don't do it, Jason, don't do it.
Very strange. Can I cut you off here? Sorry, very strange. People are so conscious to come in front of the camera, and here you're telling me people are very confidently showing their teeth, opening their mouth. It's so funny. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so that was a pretty interesting situation, because what happened is like we completely created like a new revenue stream for this business, and on their back end, right, it was really challenging, I guess, for them at that point to adapt very quickly to what was going on, right? They were receiving people from other sides. They were like having different conversations, and the whole process for the business was gonna take some time, some training. So for them, that was not beneficial. And we're like, we couldn't understand it. We're like, oh my gosh, like you are getting customers, right? Like it's so different. So that was another friction point that we were like, okay, this might not be the best experience for us to work with, because it's not worth the friction and all the issues that are having between us, even though we're getting results. Right. So we started to like really study our process, where in the whole omni-channel process, right, from marketing all the way to sales, there's a lot of elements that happen in between. We saw them as Lego pieces, right? You start building different blocks and different things. And we're like, what is the one thing that we can really focus on to be able to find that dream customer that we really want to work with? And we found out that we love to work with content creators, with people like you that have been publishing like crazy and believe in their message. We've had an experience with media, right? We invested all this money in like equipment. We knew how to produce content. We knew all this. So we decided to go with specifically content. Right. So in that journey, we decided to develop this program, which is called M2M, and then the safety net effect. So now we help different businesses that are already creating content, podcasters, for example, right, that have that content tied down to a sale. We help them multiply that message through these different systems. So now we're super passionate. We're finding people like crazy that really want to work with us, that love to do this thing. So, it only took us 5 years.
Amazing. Well, that's great. You know what? I have so many questions now when you were talking. Very important points. First, you spoke about one thing. I think entrepreneurs are missing on that big time, because there are so many shiny object syndromes. They do not, stick to one thing. So there is a great message there. If you stick to one thing and, have consistency, there is no way you are going to fail. Definitely, you need clarity from time to time. And if you have any obstacles, you need to, undo what you're doing and learn from your mistakes. So first thing you mentioned was one thing. Second, you spoke about how you implemented that course. You bought it for $500. Even though you did not finish it, you did only 3 modules, but you took action. So this is the second biggest problem. People buy courses after courses and they don't finish. Then forget about finishing. Even if you don't finish, sometimes people can learn a lot from 1 or 2 modules, or sometimes people reverse engineer. They go to the last, to the end, last module of the course and pick something up from there and start, Implementation. That's the problem. People don't take action because of fear or whatever. And third, very important point you mentioned was how marketing is more important than your sales. Or definitely they're both tied up together. But for me also, I always get confused. What is more important, selling or marketing, or both? So that's amazing. What were some of the challenges you had during this journey?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, how much time we got? There's so many, right? And hopefully
give me three bullet points.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that you mentioned, right, the first thing, like with the courses, that shiny object syndrome, we definitely still have a challenge with that, because I think because we're so passionate about the thing that we do and the thing that we communicate with our clients, with our audience, we always want to be learning more, right?
Right.
But we got to be really careful, because there's going to be a hamster wheel of learning, and then you're going to crave more. And it's crazy. Like, some people that I talk to this in, I guess, the real world, not the online world, right? They're like, how could you do this? Because their experience is related to college or to school, where they did not love what they were learning. But once you're so passionate about one thing, you just keep wanting more and more and more and more, and consuming content and consuming this. I'm paying for these courses. We actually produce some content for an entrepreneur that interviewed somebody that invested, I think it was like 100K in courses, online courses. And it was like the lesson after that, right? He's like, I wasted so much time, so much money, right? So it's like, okay, once you start moving, right? And I didn't know that at the time when I purchased that $500 course, but I remember like just going through the first thing, and then I grab a couple nuggets from that, and then I implemented, right? And within 1 month, I made the money back that I could invest again in something different. And last year, actually, that's when this conference happened. So the first like 3 and 4 years were really just like consuming, learning. And then last year, we're like, enough. Let's actually execute and bring what we're learning. So we actually made a very conscious decision on investing in ourselves, as in with events and with coaches, because we got to a level where courses were already like not enough. Like we're already like, okay, what's the next step? And we actually invested this, and we had actually an episode on the show about this. In the last 6 months, we 6x'd 6 times the revenue of the last 4 years.
Wow.
And it was because of that. So along the way, yes, many challenges, which one was the fear of, I guess, the FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. But we were like, okay, fear of missing a client, I guess. Like, I think this is a new term, fear of missing a client, because we're like, okay, well, if we like niche down, if we just do one thing, which is content, we're going to miss out on all those opportunities. But we have to understand that even if you miss out, there's room for so much more. And now that we're like deep diving, like we're going super deep on this content tangent, right? It's just like we're going down, and with a very specific, right, type of content, which is long form content. We've found so many opportunities, and now the conversations are so easy, to the point that last week we actually had a Facebook Live. We recorded our show live, and this guy that was on the audience was engaging, and he was like right there with us. And after that, he's like, guys, can you jump on a call with me? And now because of that, he's now a client. He's an agency owner that he's now a client, because that frictionless sale happened, because we focus on one thing. So many of the challenges come down to like that shiny like object syndrome, going from place to place. I will say maybe pick 3 that you like really, really like look up to, that are in the place where you want to be, and then start implementing like right away. Because as soon as you start implementing, you're gonna start finding these like small wins, but at the same time, you're gonna start finding new problems that you gotta solve. But if you never execute, you're never gonna find them, and you're never gonna take it to the next level.
Right. So tell us like how, like I asked you, what is more important? You mentioned that marketing leads, businesses to sales. Put some more light on that. Give us more definitely. Clarity.
Of course. So a lot of the time, a lot of people, and we used to work with a lot of brick and mortars, right? And the relationship between marketing and sales, they see no relationship whatsoever, right? Because they don't have an internal like process of marketing themselves. So they go out and they hire these agencies, right, to execute on that. Now, marketing is just the first step of your sale, because to make a sale, the statistic I believe is like between 12 or 15 points of contact. What is a point of contact? Is somebody interacting with you in some sort, like some form, right? Either they see a banner, they see a Facebook ad, they receive a phone call from you. So they have to warm up to you. So there's different levels of temperature, right? Cold, lead, then it goes to warm, hot, and then the last one, which is the most important, is your dream one. The one that actually is already investing or is already expending money in your solution, but is frustrated with somebody else's. So now that person can be really easy. You can collect them because they're already on a place on a purchasing mindset. So now once we start seeing and we give permissions to ourselves that is just one process where marketing is the start, now things change because you're going to start investing your time in creating that relationship with your customer, which is that very important side of marketing. So marketing is not cheap tricks, is developing a relationship with your future customers so they can trust you enough so they can give you their money and their time so you can create, something beautiful together, right? So I'll give you an example with fitness, right? The fitness, I come from that. We used to run a couple fitness studios, and somebody that, let's say, somebody has never worked out ever, right, in their lives, or that are wanting to change. And then if they go to a fitness studio that charges $150 per month, right, maybe that's a big jump, right off the bat. And if they don't have a relationship with you, that's going to be really challenging to make that sale. Right. Versus somebody that has been investing $150 already in a different fitness solution, but that fitness solution is not enough for them already. Now, if you present them with your marketing, a different solution with your message, they're going to come to you. Now, what happens to that person that you really feel like they need it, right? And they also want it, but they're not ready to take that jump of $150 a month. Well, that's where your marketing and your content and your relationship with it starts to happen, because they might be ready, not now, but maybe in 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months. So that whole marketing is going to create all those points of contact where you can interact with them in some sort of fashion, with a phone call, with your content, with videos, with pictures, with whatever, where their level of trust is now high enough so they go from cold all the way to dream. So they're like, okay, take my money, let's go work out, right?
Or maybe give them like 7 days free just to, explore. Like you're sharing this example of fitness, some gym and studios give this option of, why not join, just for 7 days, and it's going to be free, and explore. And most of the time it happens that during those 7 days, this cold client becomes, like a warmer, becomes your customer, because they have experienced the, the infrastructure, and, they see.
Exactly. So we talk about, how level of quality of that point of contact, right? So maybe a phone call is going to be a lower level than an experience in person. So that's why you see so many of those offers where it's like, hey, come in and try this for free, because now that person is in there with you for a period of time, right? Which is, time is more valuable than money. So they're actually giving you the time to interact with you. So now they're creating those points of contact. If it's 1 day, 1 week, even better, because now the coach, right, if we're talking in the fitness industry, has the opportunity to develop a relationship with them. And now that customer is going to be able to see, okay, right, there's a benefit to this. Now I have a relationship. So the point of contact goes up on the level scale. And now is so much easier for them to make that decision, because they build that rapport. So content and marketing does that on an online level. So the more time they spend with you, right, they're giving you their time, the better it's going to be for you and your business when you present an offer, because they're going to be like, I trust this person. I like that person. I resonate with the message. Now I'm ready to actually give them money in exchange of what they can give me of value.
Amazing. So what I understand is marketing is basically the foundation to achieve those sales, right? Without good marketing, you can't have that kind of relationships and trust with your customers. And when you don't have that, sales becomes even more challenging. Am I right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. So what do you see, like the new entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs do, what are the mistakes they are making, some of the entrepreneurs, which they can avoid according to you? Because now you have been in this industry for 5 years and you have had your own challenges, and I'm sure you're still learning and growing. But what can you advise people who are a few steps behind you?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that question. It's actually a really good question. So, we're still in this journey, right? Like, we're always growing. But I'm going to talk specifically with creating content and the challenge that we were facing with that. Because we really, truly believe, like, in the last 20 minutes, we've talked about how that is really, like, relatable right there off the bat with your sales and your business, right? And if you don't make sales, then your business goes under, right? So I remember we were last year we're going out and having all these meetings with different businesses, with business owners, with the decision makers on these content programs that we were selling. And we will sit down with them, and they will of course do their research. So they will go like, guys, you are not publishing. Like you like all your social media is empty, only personal stuff. And we're like, yes, I mean, we want to keep it that way, right? For now. But don't worry, don't look at us, go look at our clients. But they're like, you know, the level of rapport went down because we're not drinking our own Kool-Aid, right? Mm-hmm. And even though we've been working on this industry for about 4 years at the time, we were not executing within like our own company because we're focusing on sales, right? We weren't making that connection. So we came back to the office that day, and we sat down in front of a whiteboard, and we're like, okay, so we're having all these conversations. The rapport is getting lower instead of higher because they don't see that content in our accounts. They want to see that, right? So we're busy building the business. We're making all these decisions. And even though we execute with our clients, we're not executing on the content side for us. So how can we be present, consistent? Because that's the number one thing with content. You have to be consistent so we can do it internally with our business. So we sat down and we're like, okay, let's actually, what's the minimal viable content that I can produce today that I don't need to edit? I don't need to put subtitles on. I don't need to do anything to get it out there. And the answer for us was Facebook Live. Mm-hmm. So that was the only way that we found fit at the time. This was about 6 months ago, to publish consistently so we can tie down that content to the profit of our own business instead of doing it for the others, right? So we're like, let's drink our own Kool-Aid and let's do this. So we decided to go Facebook Live for 45 days. We made it super public. We're like, guys, we're actually going to go and explaining all these secrets, and we're going to talk about this 45 days in a row, like not skipping weekends. Weekends we will be there as well, and we will do this. The beautiful thing that happened was that this only took us about 5 to 10 minutes per day. And the only thing that we did was grab that video, put it on Facebook, because there's no editing, no nothing, no friction. I could just hit publish and record, and that was it. And then we will put it on LinkedIn because there's a very big way for us to get clients. Guess what? At day 20, we actually stopped. Wow. And we stopped not because of the bad reasons, because the good reasons. We actually got so much business out of that we actually now we're having issues fulfilling our own content. Mm-hmm. So now we built the systems, you know, that comes with that. When the systems were ready to go so they could support and we could free our time, now we restarted again. And the second time, same thing. My brother actually had to stop at day 20 again. So, and if you go back and you see my videos, they're like around 11 at night, 12 at night. So my advice to them, to everybody that's starting right now, there's a business, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of moving pieces that an entrepreneur has to like take care of. Content, it is one of them, and it's probably one of the most important things, and it's going to take you a lot less than you think to publish. So my challenge for somebody that's starting up, that cannot invest in a team to create this content, that cannot invest in a team to repurpose that content, or they don't have enough time to repurpose that content and create it, is like, find your minimum viable content. For you is recording this episode, right? You told me your story a little bit. Like, this show is amazing what you've done. More than 1,000 downloads in like a month. That's amazing, right?
2 months, yeah.
In 2 months. So look at that. So it's amazing. So for us, that was our Facebook Lives, right? For somebody else, could be posting 3 times a week. But what is the minimum viable content that you can stay consistent, so you can actually make your message, like get your message out, so people can start reaching out to you because they're the perfect fit, right? They're going to sync with that message. They're going to listen to you. You're going to create those points of contact, and eventually it's going to go full circle, and you're going to sell them something. You're going to deliver so much value, and they're going to be your customers. So invest in your content. And if you don't have the resources, what is your minimal viable content that you can produce consistently? So that is my number one advice.
Right. That is great, because you emphasize on consistency. Sometimes we post it for 1 month or 2 months and then we give up. Entrepreneurs need to understand the importance of being consistent, at least for 1 year. I would say give yourself time to build those relationships and trust with your niche. Pick up one, niche, and then post content for at least 1 year. If you're really authentic, right? If you're trying to make quick money, it doesn't happen. Even if you make quick money, it's not going to last. too long. Right. Anyway, so Louis, yeah, I mean, you both, I mean, we still have one brother. We will interview the other one next time. You guys have so much knowledge and information, and you have experience from your own journey. But we don't have so much time. Before we close the show, what is one piece of advice you want to give the entrepreneurs to escape burnouts, increase productivity, and stay in the game? Because most of the entrepreneurs, give up within the first 12 months. Like Tony Robbins says, people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years, and most of the
Yeah.
businesses fail in first 12 months. So please give our audience one crisp golden nugget which they can follow so they can stay in the game of success.
Yes. So I think this resonates big time with me because while we were doing this, we were also building a t-shirt company. So we started that, and this was probably like almost 3 years ago. And we thought it was super cool to like have these t-shirts made, and we will make them. But as soon as we started like making the t-shirts, we didn't have the capital to invest in a team, right? So we were actually printing the t-shirts ourselves in the garage of our house. And we had like big orders, like 300 shirts ordered and stuff like that. So we'll come back from our work, from our job, and start creating these t-shirts at 9 p.m., getting done at like 3 a.m. in the morning. And guess what? That didn't last long because we hated the process of creating the t-shirt. We loved the final product, but we hated the process. So that taught me that if you do not love the process, you might have to rethink, what you're doing, because that's not sustainable long term. So if you don't love the process, either find somebody that loves the process and can execute it for you. So at the time we didn't have that possibility, or move to like a slight different part of that and be like, how can I reshape my passion where I can actually enjoy the process? And that was exactly what happened with us with content as well. We're having such a bad experience with business owners because there was so much friction. They were questioning everything that we were doing, even though the results were there. So we're like, okay, this process right here, we're not enjoying it. So how can we still be in the marketing content game, enjoying the process and loving what we do? Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep you there, right? So that's why we now focus just on long form content and creating all these processes, because that's the process that we love. So if you do not love the process right now of the thing that you do, you have two options. Again, go find somebody that loves that part of the process, or maybe rethink a little bit and be like, okay, what's the side of like, what's the process that I actually love and enjoy, that then that little piece you can scale and start bringing people on. So enjoy the process.
Amazing. Like Russell Brunson says, find out who can do it for you. Now, not like, how can I do it? It's who. If you have the resources, guys, and if you're passionate about something, find out who can help you. Because sometimes we have this fear of not investing money, It's very important that without investment, you are not going to grow. All the successful people in the world today have had some kind of investment, right? Time, money, a lot of things. Amazing. So Louise shared a lot of amazing points today about focusing on one thing, about implementing, and about finding your passion. Make your passion your business. And if you're not enjoying the process, repurpose it. Amazing, Louise. Please tell our listeners, where can they find you?
Yes, definitely. The best way to kind of connect with us, we also have a show called Content is Profit. You can find it in all the major podcasting platforms. You can also connect through our social media at BIZBROS Co. That's on Instagram and Facebook. And if you want to find out more and kind of take your content to the next level, we have processes for like every step, from like, I don't know where to start, so what is our minimum viable content, to all the way, like if you do have the resources, you're already producing content. That's a program that we have called Content Momentum. So the best way to connect with that is contentisprofit.com. So very simple, Content is Profit on any podcast. If you want to connect with us through content, or contentisprofit.com, you can go there and ask us your number one question so we can help you out from there.
Amazing. So you can help beginners as well as experienced people. So guys, even if you don't have any content, you are lost, you can get in touch with Luis Brothers. Or if you're somebody who's already producing content, but you want to turn your content into profit making business, money, then you can also contact Luis Brothers. I'm going to put all their details in our show notes. Just in case you couldn't hear it properly, you can just copy paste and get in contact with them. It was amazing and wonderful. You guys have so much knowledge and experience, and I hope our audience is going to learn a lot and they will start taking action. Publish, guys, publish. Thank you, Luis. Thank you. Give my regards to other Luis as well.
Will do. Thank you, Kajal. Appreciate it.